To make my brother believe I wasn't obsessed with him anymore, I ran off to another country and found a new boyfriend. My new boyfriend was a real sweet talker, and he made me so happy I forgot all about home. But just as things were about to get serious, my brother called. "Leo, get your ass back here." Fiddling with the engagement ring on my finger, I ignored his command. "Evan," I said, "has anyone ever told you you're a real buzzkill?" When I landed back in the States, I went straight to my brother's company. He was in a meeting, so I killed time playing games in his office. Mark, one of the secretaries I knew, brought me a bubble tea. I thanked him, then asked as casually as I could, "Hey, Mark, who's that guy in the waiting area?" Mark let out a little hiss, and I knew. "Oh, my new sister-in-law." "Well, not yet." "Oh, so my future sister-in-law." I lost the game right then and slammed my phone off, fuming. "Tell my brother I'm leaving. Don't want to interrupt his good time. And tell him to unfreeze my credit cards when he gets a chance." "Thanks." I turned to walk out, but Mark tried to stop me. I didn't hear a word he said. "Where do you think you're going?" The familiar voice hit me the second I stepped out of the office. Evan stood there in a tailored suit, his eyes behind his glasses as still as water. But his irises were so dark they looked heavy, and they were fixed straight on me. Like a cobra locking onto its prey, his blatant aggression made my heart pound. In my peripheral vision, I saw the guy from the waiting area stand up. I dodged Evan's gaze and answered nonchalantly, "Going for drinks. My friends are throwing me a welcome home party." Evan, my brother, walked over and stood right in front of me, looking down at me. "Get inside. Don't make me angry the second you get back." The guy from the waiting area was walking over. A rush of irritation went to my head, and my spoiled brat side came out in full force. "Didn't you hear me? I said I'm gonna get drinks with my friends." "What do you mean, get inside?" The employees who had just left the conference room with him stood there in dead silence. They were probably used to this, or maybe they were just scared of my brother getting mad. But my brother just gave me a cool, dismissive look and turned back toward his office. "Then don't come in, and your cards can stay frozen." My blood boiled. I clenched my fists. "Evan," my future sister-in-law finally spoke up. My brother turned his head, as if just noticing he was there. "What are you doing here?" His tone was softer now, not the cold bark he'd used with me. I laughed, a bitter, angry sound, then quickly rearranged my face into a warm smile and looped my arm through the other guy's. "Well, who is this? Couldn't be my new sister-in-law, could it?" The guy seemed a little surprised by my words, but then managed a small smile. "Oh, so you're Evan's younger brother." My own smile grew sweeter, more innocent. "That's right. And since you're here, could you do me a favor and talk some sense into my brother? He's always cutting off my allowance." As I spoke, I shot Evan a pathetic, wounded look, but my eyes were brimming with defiance. The guy blushed, but my brother's voice turned icy again. "Leo, get inside. Don't make me repeat myself a third time." I followed my brother into the office. No one else came with us. Mark politely stopped the other guy at the door. "Mr. Keene, our boss needs to handle a family matter first. If you wouldn't mind waiting just a little longer." I sauntered into the office and plopped down on my brother's desk, scrolling on my phone. "Why didn't you invite your little sister-in-law in? What if he gets the wrong idea?" My brother ignored me. I propped my foot on the side of his office chair and kept going. "Hey, why'd you use my full name out there? Two brothers with different last names who look nothing alike. What if people start getting ideas?" Still no response from my brother. He just stood there with a stone-cold expression, sorting through files. Like some old professor, I scoffed and went for the kill. "Why so quiet, my dear brother? What's wrong? Afraid I'll screw up this marriage for you, too?" "Don't worry, I won't. After all, I have a boyfriend." My brother suddenly stood up, trapping me between his suit and the desk. He pressed down on my leg, which I'd been fidgeting with. Though the fabric of his expensive suit pants was soft, it felt rough against my bare skin. I tried uneasily to move my leg, but he held it fast. When he spoke, his words had nothing to do with what just happened. "Leo, how long has it been?" His eyes were lowered, serious, as if he were deep in thought. I froze for a second, then quickly put my carefree mask back on. "Didn't we see each other last Christmas?" I hopped off the desk, closing the distance between us. I thought he would back away, but he didn't move an inch. We were so close now I could feel his breath on my face. My instinct was to pull back, but I refused to lose this fight. I just raised an eyebrow, challenging him. I'm a grown-up now. It's not like brothers need to see each other every day, right? We're not toddlers who still need their mommies. Evan lifted a hand and, before I could react, pushed his fingers past my lips. He pressed my tongue down, the rough pads of his fingers making direct, unimpeded contact with it. He held me there, staring into my eyes, his gaze behind his glasses like a man observing a helpless young animal caught in his grasp. Keep talking. Why'd you stop? He asked casually, as if it were the most normal question in the world. I clawed at his hand, but I couldn't get it away. The foreign object in my throat was making me gag, and my eyes started to water. In a panic, I slapped him. The sound was sharp and sudden. My brother let go and adjusted his glasses, which had been knocked askew. I gasped for breath, glaring at him. You deserved that. Evan, are you insane? You just wait. I'll make sure this thing with the guy outside falls through, too, you hear me? My brother paused, the hand adjusting his glasses, now moving to take them off entirely. I knew this was bad. I tried to run, but my legs had already gone soft. He tossed his glasses onto the desk and slowly began rolling up his sleeves as he walked toward me. Leo, you go away for a little while and come back with such a temper? The next time the office door opened, my eyes were red and swollen, with tear tracks I hadn't managed to wipe away completely. And my brother? He had that same placid, nothing happened, dead inside look on his face. Mark handed my brother a file without even looking up, reporting on some business matter. I just stood next to my brother, pinching the palm of my hand to keep from crying again. Only after Mark finished his report did he sneak a glance at me and ask my brother tentatively, "Boss, is there anything else you need?" My brother flipped through the file in his hands and answered offhandedly, "Take him to a restaurant. After he's eaten, take him home. Then you can clock out." "Yes, sir." I followed Mark out, my head hung low. My brother cleared his throat. I bit my lower lip, humiliated. He was prompting me. "I'm leaving, brother." As I walked out of the office, the other secretaries looked at me with concern. My future sister-in-law even came up to me. "Did you two have a fight? Is he in a good mood now?" I gave a vague nod. "You can go in. He'll be in a better mood once he sees you." Hearing this, Mark shot me a pained look but didn't say anything. I didn't speak again until we were at the elevator. "Mark," I mumbled, "do you have a cushion?" Mark nodded, understanding completely. "I do. Wait here, I'll go get it for you." While I was waiting, I ran into one of my brother's friends. Chris looked surprised to see me. "Leo, when did you get back?" "This morning." Seeing my pathetic state, he probably guessed what had happened. "Did your brother discipline you again? But you just got back. How could he?" Mark returned with the cushion. Not wanting to say more, I just nodded at Chris. "I got to go, Chris." Chris sighed and patted my head. "All right, go on. I'll go have a word with your brother for you." Chris walked into his friend's office and saw the young man who'd been pursuing him was still there. He swallowed the words on the tip of his tongue, deciding to wait for his friend to handle his private business first. Evan glanced at the person who'd come in but continued speaking to the man in front of him without missing a beat. "I've made myself clear. Don't come here again." The young man looked indignant. "Why? A marriage between us would be mutually beneficial. Are you sure you won't reconsider?" "No need to reconsider. I already have someone I plan to marry." The finality was clear, but the young man still looked unconvinced. He didn't dare press further, though. The man before him wasn't raising his voice, but there was something about him that made defiance feel impossible. All you could do was obey. Once the young man left the office, Chris finally teased his friend. "Since when do you have a marriage prospect I don't know about?" Evan's expression softened for his friend, but he held up a hand, asking him to wait. He pressed a button on his desk phone. "Mia, don't let any more unscheduled visitors in from now on." Then he turned his attention back to his friend. "I only decided recently. I haven't had a chance to tell you." Chris raised an eyebrow. "So there really is someone? I thought you were just making up an excuse." "Who is it?" "Leo." "Who?" "Leo. My brother. You know him. Are you serious?" "Yes." "What's wrong?" Evan stopped what he was doing and looked at his friend, slightly puzzled. Chris struggled to find his words. But, he's your brother. And you just made him cry. Evan went back to his work. First, he's not my real brother. Second, I only punish him when he makes a mistake. It has nothing to do with whether he's my brother or my future husband. He's still young. I can't let him run wild. Chris sighed, not knowing what to say. Call him obsessed with his brother? But he was so harsh with him. Call him normal? But he was calling a grown man young. Man, having a brother like that was just rotten luck. In the car, I was the only one sitting awkwardly on a cushion. My entire backside, all the way to the top of my thighs, was stinging with a fiery pain. My brother had really gone all out this time. He was probably punishing me for sneaking off to another country and almost getting married all at once. But I was in my 20s, not some rebellious teenager. Even if I needed to be disciplined, it shouldn't be like this. He was like some ancient tyrant, unable to tolerate anything even slightly outside his control, even though in his mind, I was just an adopted brother. And me? As much as I resented it, I couldn't fight back. I lost my parents when I was 10. I was bounced around foster care and different homes for 3 years before Evan's parents found and adopted me. Evan's mom was my mom's best friend, but their family was out of town when the accident happened and couldn't get back right away. I still remember the first time I met Evan. He was wearing a suit-style school uniform, 6 feet tall, looking down at me with a blank expression, as if he were looking at dust on the ground. At that moment, I had just been returned to the orphanage by yet another foster family and was viciously pinning down a kid who had called me a jinx. Evan walked over and stood beside me, not saying a word, just watching as I tore and bit at the kid beneath me like a wild animal, getting covered in dirt. When I finally stood up and saw him, only one thought crossed my mind. Who's this poser? I was exhausted from the fight, so I just weakly shook a fist at him. What are you looking at? Watch it or I'll beat you up too. Leo? You're Leo, right? As if he thought I was dirty, he lightly pinched a tiny bit of my collar and asked in a flat tone. I impatiently swatted his hand away and yelled, "You know my name, so get out of my way." Leo? At that name, a jolt went through me. I slowly turned to see a well-dressed couple, Evan's parents, looking at me with pity in their eyes. My fierce expression froze. I lowered my head, anxiously tugging at my wrinkled, dirty shirt and picking at the mud under my fingernails. But the woman didn't seem to mind how dirty I was. She pulled me into a hug. Auntie Amber is so sorry she's late. My poor child. My face was stiff. It took a long moment before I could squeeze out any tears and whisper, "Auntie Amber." Evan just stood there the whole time, watching. It was like he was sizing me up, or maybe like he didn't see me at all. Evan's parents adopted me. Uncle and auntie became mom and dad, and Evan became my brother. But they never forced me to call them mom and dad, and they didn't change my last name. In their hearts, they wanted me to remember my real parents. That was kind, but it also served as a constant reminder that my family was well and truly gone. When I first joined their family, I was enrolled in a private school with a bunch of rich kids and the children of officials. Evan went there too. At first, they were all polite and friendly, but after they found out I was adopted, a few of them started acting strange. Back then, my philosophy was simple. If you make my life hard, I'll make yours harder. A torrent of curses and a few punches scared the hell out of those pampered little princes and princesses, and I got called to the office. The guardians of those kids showed up quickly, all of them furious. One of them even poked me hard in the forehead with her nail. But I just bit my lip and refused to apologize or call my parents. I had just moved in with them. What if I caused them trouble and they decided they didn't want me anymore? After all, they weren't my real parents. But hey, the worst that could happen was being sent back to the orphanage. It wouldn't be the first time. With that thought, I yelled, "I did nothing wrong. I'm not apologizing. And I don't have any parents, so you're all out of luck." That really set the teacher off, and the whole office erupted into chaos. Just as I decided to bite the next parent who dared to touch me, someone grabbed me by the neck and pulled me into their chest. "What's going on here?" The teacher saw the person behind me and stopped fumbling through papers to make a call. "Evan, this is the middle school wing. What are you doing here?" "I'm Leo's older brother. I heard he got into a fight, so I came to see." Hearing that, I started struggling violently. "Who's your brother?" "You're not. Stay out of this." But he was several years older than me, and I couldn't break free. Instead, he pinned both of my wrists with one hand. Behave. He always talked like that. Light, calm, unhurried. I hadn't known him long enough back then to read his emotions, so I just assumed he was one of those aloof types who didn't care about anything. That just made me fight harder. I said, "It's none of your business." Page. Evan clamped his other hand over my mouth, completely sealing the lower half of my face. He had me locked in his arms, making me look perfectly obedient. Only I knew how much force he was using. "All right, teacher. You can speak now." The teacher probably hadn't expected Evan to be so direct and forceful. She stammered for a moment. Well, I think it's better if I speak with your parents." "No need. They're on a business trip today. There are no other adults at home who can come. Right now, I am his sole guardian." The teacher had no choice but to recount her version of events. The other parents chimed in, adding their own exaggerations. I rolled my eyes and cursed them all under my breath. Evan didn't say another word, just listened to everything, sentence by sentence. Only when everyone had more or less finished did he finally release his hand from my mouth. "Your turn." I couldn't believe I was actually getting a chance to defend myself. But I didn't know what to say. No one had ever wanted to hear my explanation before. I thought and thought, but all I could manage was, they insulted me, so I insulted them back. They were about to jump me, so I hit them first. Evan looked down at me. "That's it?" I looked up at him. "That's it." Evan nodded in understanding and delivered his verdict. "Then you all will apologize to him first. Leo, you will apologize too. No matter what, insulting and hitting people is wrong." Before I could protest, the other parents started clamoring again, frowning and shouting. "Why should we apologize? Our children are so well behaved, with years of high-class education. How could they do something like that? It must be this feral child from the orphanage who doesn't know any rules and provoked them. I heard this kid has been sent back by several foster families. You can just imagine what his character is like." As she spoke, the woman shot me a contemptuous look, as if I were something filthy. I was about to explode, but just as I opened my mouth, it was covered again. "Mrs. Sanders, so you believe that mocking my brother's past misfortunes is a sign of high moral character and excellent upbringing?" Evan said slowly and deliberately, looking straight at the woman who had spoken. "If you maintain this attitude, then let me be clear. Leo will not apologize until you do. If you have any objections, the Pearson Legal Department would be happy to schedule a consultation with you at any time. But let me state one thing in advance. Our family's position has been clear from the start. We will not tolerate any slander or defamation regarding my brother. Please examine your own words and actions before you demand any so-called compensation." He wasn't looking at me anymore, but I kept my head tilted up, watching him. At that moment, only one thought was in my head. Wow, he can even be a badass in such a classy way. I don't know how much weight the family name carried, but I do know that after Evan said that, those other parents were all forced to apologize. "Your turn, Leo." Apologize. I wanted to say no, but Evan's display of power made me hesitate. "Be good." Evan's hand rested on my head. "I'm sorry. I never would have thought that the first real lesson I'd learn about apologizing would come from Evan." From that day on, Evan started meddling in my life. In his words, since our parents weren't home often, it was his responsibility to raise me right. I, of course, made a point of defying him at every turn, only giving in when he had me physically restrained. Those days were chaotic, but I loved them. Someone was looking after me again. It was a happy feeling, but that didn't mean my bad temper improved. I was still the same selfish, vindictive Leo. In fact, I'd even developed a new lovely trait, being spoiled and arrogant because I knew I was doted on. But then, things got weird. Because no normal brother's first wet dream is about his own brother. I didn't want to believe it at first. Who? Evan? That stone-faced, preachy, micromanaging butler of a poser? How could I possibly fall for someone like that? From that day on, I started deliberately avoiding him and throwing myself at other guys. I wanted to prove that the only reason I had such a bizarre dream was because I spent too much time with him. But my grand plan fell apart before it even got started. Evan cornered me in the study. At that moment, I was Googling things like symptoms of being in love with your brother. The second Evan walked in, I slammed the laptop shut and stood up to leave. But if I moved left, Evan moved left. If I moved right, he moved right. I had no choice but to put on a tough act. Move it. Don't block the way. But Evan just pushed me back down into the chair and, right in front of me, rebooted the computer. What were you up to? What are you talking about? I'm the most well-behaved person you know. Evan's gaze shifted from the blank computer screen to me. Then why did you try to run the second I came in? I pouted. Purely because I don't want to see you. Okay? Evan frowned. Why don't you want to see me? You've been avoiding me lately. Did you do something behind my back again? He hit a nerve, and I nearly jumped out of my skin. Do I need a reason to not want to see you? It's because you're controlling and annoying, all right? Evan fell silent, just staring at me. I immediately regretted my words and couldn't meet his eyes. I heard him sigh softly, muttering to himself, ungrateful little brat. Can't seem to tame you. My eyes stung, and the regret deepened. He was right. I was an ungrateful brat. After all the years the family had taken care of me, I went and developed a crush on their only son. What was that if not repaying kindness with malice? So I started stammering out an explanation. I didn't mean it like that. Actually, Evan looked at me, really looked at me. Actually, it's because I recently realized I'm into guys. So we should probably keep our distance from now on. I squeezed my eyes shut and practically screamed the words. Evan froze, his half-bent body slowly straightening up. Who is it? What's his name? A friend? Or someone you met while you were fooling around? I couldn't answer a single question. All I could do was jut out my chin and yell, "It's none of your business." None of my business? Evan repeated my words back to me. His tone was still even, but I immediately picked up on his mood. He was not happy. He pinched the bridge of his nose under his glasses, looking deeply troubled. Let me think. Is it that friend you're always with? San. Is it him? As if it'd be that idiot, I thought. But out loud I used him as a shield. Yeah, maybe. It's probably him. Evan was silent for a moment before delivering his verdict. You're not going to school tomorrow. I'll have someone handle the transfer paperwork. And if I ever find out you're getting close to any guy again, I'll transfer you every single time. I stared at him, dumbfounded, unable to comprehend how he could say something so insane without batting an eye. Are you out of your mind? I'm not transferring. Why should I? I hate new places. I hate being moved around. I hate being thrown from one place to another. He knew that better than anyone. Evan's gaze was dark as he stared at me. You can't bear to leave him that much? I almost laughed out of sheer anger and decided to just go for broke. That's right, I can't. Evan, get a grip on who you are. You're not my real brother. You have no right to control whether I like men, and you have no right to control who I like. We stared at each other, neither of us backing down, daggers in our eyes. But I was 18 that year and Evan was 23. I couldn't win against him. He beat me and locked me in my room. He said I couldn't come out until I admitted I was wrong. That wouldn't have been so bad. But he took my phone and my laptop, basically putting me in solitary confinement. It didn't take more than 2 days for me to cave. But I wasn't going to let him have an easy win. So, I confessed my love to him. His first reaction was, "You'd even make up a lie like that just so you don't have to leave that Sean kid?" He didn't believe me, so I kissed him. After the kiss, feeling bold, I teased him. "Bro, you talk so tough, but your lips are pretty soft." He didn't say anything. He just slapped me, right across the face. Then he locked me in my room again. This time I didn't pound on the door and scream. Instead, I pathetically curled up in a corner and cried. At 18, the first response to my heartfelt confession was a slap from the person I loved. In the end, I never gave in to him. It was Mom and Dad who rushed back after hearing the news, who let me out. "Sweetheart, just apologize to your brother. He's only doing this for your own good." Mom stroked my now thinner face. Even without knowing the full story, she instinctively didn't want us to be at odds. No, I did nothing wrong. I'm not apologizing. What's so wrong about liking someone? I just happened to fall for someone who looked after me, who was good to me, who took care of my every need. If anyone was at fault, it was Evan. Why was he only so good to me? Looking back, I wonder if I had just obediently apologized and pretended nothing happened. Would things between us have ever gotten so destructive? I didn't apologize to Evan, and he didn't apologize to me. He just stopped looking after me, stopped caring about me, stopped talking to me. And then, the year I was a senior in high school, he brought home a girlfriend. Leo, say hi to your sister-in-law. Evan was finally speaking to me again. But they were the last words in the world I ever wanted to hear. Mom and Dad looked at me hopefully. In their eyes, this was probably a chance for my brother and me to break the ice. So, under everyone's expectant gaze, I plastered on the most perfect smile and chirped in a syrupy sweet voice, "Nice to meet you, sis." Mom and Dad were very pleased with this girl, fussing over her with questions. Evan stood by, listening, painting a picture of a perfect, happy family. Only I was the awkward, out-of-place accessory, no matter where I sat. "Dad, Mom, I'm going to go upstairs to study." Go on, go on. Your finals are coming up. Studying is the most important thing." The homework must have been really hard that day. So hard that my tears soaked a whole section of the page. From that day on, Evan unilaterally decided we were on good terms again. He started worrying about my food, my clothes, my every move, micromanaging my life. But I stopped fighting back. I became the good, obedient kid. Occasionally, I would even give him a polite smile. "Thanks, bro. Thank you for not letting me make another mistake." When my final exam scores came out, it was time to apply for college. Evan hired all sorts of experts to help me plan my future. On the last day to submit changes, I changed my first choice university. I was going with Sean to a school far away in the south. When the acceptance letters came, our house was dead silent. Dad frowned. Mom's eyes filled with tears. And Evan just tapped his fingers on the back of his chair, over and over. "Leo, didn't we agree you'd study up north? If you go so far away, your father, mother, and I will be so worried." Mom was genuinely worried. I went over to comfort her. "It's okay, Mom. My friend is going with me so we can look out for each other. Besides, I've always wanted to see the South. Just think of it as me going on a long trip." Took a lot of effort to calm my parents down. Just as I was about to breathe a sigh of relief, I heard my brother suddenly ask, "Which friend are you going with?" I looked at him, and a smile spread across my face. "Sean, of course. We're best friends. You've always known that, right, bro?" My brother didn't say anything more about my college choice, but during the 3-month summer break that followed, he became very strange. He started cycling through boyfriends and girlfriends, some for a couple of weeks, others for just a few days. And he got drunk. Several times. No one ever dared to get him drunk. What was going on? But I never asked. I just silently packed my bags for the South. The day before I left, he got drunk again. At that moment, I was carrying the last of my luggage downstairs. He staggered over and slammed his hand down on my suitcase. I couldn't match his strength, so I just let go, figuring I could move it tomorrow. But Evan wouldn't let it go. He grabbed the corner of my shirt. "Don't go, okay?" He must have known how drunk he sounded because he shook his head and tried again. "That's not what I mean, Leo. I meant..." I shook off his hand and turned to look at him. "Bro, which Leo are you talking to?" That's right. The young man he'd been seeing recently went by the same nickname, only his was spelled differently. I helpfully reminded him, "Bro, I'm your brother, not your boyfriend." My brother slowly let go, muttering my words back to himself. "Right, brother, not..." Drunk people never make sense. I didn't want to deal with him anymore, so I turned and went upstairs. The day I left, my parents were on a business trip and couldn't make it back. My brother came to see me off, along with his new boyfriend. This boyfriend of his probably knew something because he was always vaguely hostile toward me, though I never paid him any mind. But today he was clinging to my brother's arm, smiling at me with a look of pure triumph. So, 2 minutes before boarding, I turned to my brother. "Bro, a little parting gift for you." He gave me a questioning look. The next second, I kissed him, right on the lips, while his boyfriend was still holding his arm. After the kiss, before my brother's slap could land, I grabbed my luggage and ran. "Evan, you trampled all over my feelings. If I can't be happy, then neither can you." After that, I went to my university and he went on being CEO Evan. It was as if the airport incident never happened. He still called every day to check on me, still called to nag me to go back to my dorm if I was planning to stay out all night. But all I felt was annoyance. In my sophomore year, I applied to be an exchange student abroad. I had to beg and plead with my mom to get her to agree. "Mom, can you please not tell my brother about this yet? Why not, sweetie? What if he worries? Oh, Mom, let me tell you a secret. My brother's new boyfriend called me. He said I'm always bothering my brother and getting in the way of their relationship. So just don't tell him. Okay? Alright, but your brother's boyfriend sounds a little… I'm gonna have to screen him properly. I can't have a daughter-in-law who's not good to my baby boy. I managed to smooth things over and got my study abroad paperwork done. Evan, if I can't escape you by moving south, then I'll go to another country. Sooner or later, I'll be so far away that I won't even remember what you look like. During my 2 years studying abroad, Evan's calls became much less frequent. Apart from the first call after I left, which lasted over 3 hours, the rest were just scattered 10-minute conversations. Of course, that was mainly because I didn't want to talk to him. Who in their right mind could stand a 3-hour phone call that was nothing but lectures and silence? Took me a whole year to finally adjust to life abroad, and I even got myself a sweet-talking boyfriend. I thought my life was finally on a new, better track, but I never expected that Evan would end up forcing me back home by cutting off my credit cards. Why? Why does bad luck always follow me around? In a private room at a restaurant, I was chugging glass after glass of wine. There was someone else there drinking just as hard, Sean, my friend. Apparently, his wife had asked for a divorce, and the guy had been drinking morosely since he arrived. It was supposed to be my welcome home party, but the two of us were more miserable than anyone. Our other friends couldn't stand it and tried to intervene, but I just gestured with my glass for them to drink up. Just drink with me, that's all. By the end, drunk and emotional, Sean and I were clutching each other and sobbing. Why does my wife want to divorce me? I can't live without her. Why is my brother such an annoying old man? I really don't want to see him anymore. Doesn't he get it? We ended up a snotty, teary mess. I couldn't stand being so gross, so I sobered up for a second and wiped my face. Sean was still crying, trying to wipe his face on my shirt. I pushed him away and started cursing him out, and he cursed me right back. I mocked him for his wife leaving him. He mocked me for being too pathetic to escape my brother. As we stabbed at each other's deepest insecurities, neither of us realized that a scene like this could start a rumor. The secret love affair of the socialite, the young heir, and the adopted son. The next morning, I stared at the trending topic on my phone, my head throbbing. It was so absurd I almost laughed. Who would believe this crap? Just then, the housekeeper knocked on my door. Mr. Leo, are you awake? Breakfast is ready. Also, Mr. Evan called earlier and asked you to call him back when you woke up. Oh no, don't tell me someone actually believed it. I scrambled out of bed but hesitated, phone in hand. My brother, he's probably really busy with work. I'll just call him tonight. As I was debating, my phone suddenly rang. I jumped, nearly dropping it. I looked at the screen. It wasn't my brother, but it was someone else who gave me a headache. Incoming call, ex-boyfriend. Hello? Didn't I tell you to stop bothering me? Leo, I'm in your country. Can you come see me? At a table by the window in a coffee shop, I idly stirred my drink, listening to the man in front of me ramble on. My mind drifted back to the day before I left for home. At that moment, I was on the phone with my brother when my then-boyfriend, Dino, stood by, blinking his big eyes at me. What's wrong, darling? I didn't answer him. I took a breath and spoke into the phone. Evan, has anyone ever told you you're a real buzzkill? I hung up right after, not bothering to think about why he'd had a sudden freak out. We hadn't seen each other in 2 years, and the one time he calls, he opens with "Get your ass back here." I guess being too nice to him had spoiled him. He was acting less like a brother and more like a dad. Dino came closer and wrapped his arms around my waist. Darling, are we going to continue? I pressed my head against his cheek to soothe him. Of course we are. Seeing this, one of the staff members immediately jumped in. So, Mr. Leo, shall I continue showing you our properties? I nodded, but my interest had already waned. What Dino and I were doing was looking at houses for our future married life. He was a romantic, passionate Italian man who had proposed to me just a few days earlier. Knowing I loved diamonds, he presented me with a ring I couldn't refuse. Swept up by the atmosphere and the allure of the diamond, I had said yes. But I regretted it almost immediately. Getting a divorce is a lot harder than breaking up. So, I planned to compensate Dino with something and just break up with him. His suggestion yesterday to buy a house was the perfect opportunity. My flashback ended. Dino had already picked out a property. I asked him to wait a moment, while I prepared to buy it for him outright. I'm sorry, Mr. Leo. This card has been frozen. What? A terrible thought crossed my mind. I quickly pulled out all my other cards. Just as I suspected. Every single one was frozen. I opened my banking app, the family account was unlinked, and my balance was too low. My Venmo was even worse. I knew exactly whose handiwork this was. I called him. The man who usually never answered his personal phone picked up on the first ring. What is it? Bro, I'm begging you. Giving up so soon? Begging for what? Speak clearly. For a tutorial on how to be a sarcastic asshole. Come back, and I'll teach you slowly. Oh, are you showing weakness now? I don't know if I hit a nerve, but he was silent for a long time. I helpfully reminded him, pretending to be disabled can get you struck by lightning. Being mute counts. Come back. Let's have a proper talk. He finally answered, but my patience had run out. We can talk, but you have to give me money. This time, he answered quickly. I can give you money, but I decide what we talk about. Then give me the money now. No, that flat, absolute refusal infuriated me all over again. If you don't give it to me, I'll go ask mom and dad. And I'll tell them their wonderful older son is trying to drive their younger son to his death. My brother didn't seem fazed at all. His voice was as calm and breezy as ever. Go ahead. Let's see if mom and dad support me trying to get you to come home, or if they support you. Spending money to buy a house and get married to some guy in another country. I was speechless. I knew he had me under surveillance again. Evan, what the hell do you want from me? You, huh? Something about that felt weird. I suspected he was playing word games, but I had no proof. Bro, you're 28. Yes. So? You've been weaned, right? So why are you still so childish? My brother actually laughed. Leo, save the tough talk for when you're back here and can say it to my face. The house was a no-go. The money I had on hand was just enough for food, clothes, and a one-way ticket home. Darling, is something bothering you? Dino hugged me from behind, his voice full of worry and affection. But my brother had pushed me to my limit. I forced down my annoyance and said, yes, something is bothering me. A lot. I pulled his hands off me and turned to face him. Dino, let's break up. The man was stunned, his expression turning to panic. Why? What did I do wrong? Nothing. I'm just bored. I reluctantly took off the diamond ring and pushed it back into Dino's hand. Ugh, my beautiful diamond. When I get back, I'm buying a bigger, sparklier one. Don't contact me again. I'm going home. Dino frantically grabbed my wrist. Wait, why so sudden? We were about to get married, baby. I rolled my eyes and shook his hand off. Darling, let's not make this ugly. Okay? Who do you think just called me? The man's eyes immediately darted away. I suddenly felt bored with the whole charade and decided to stop. Playing games. Alright, stop clinging. Let's just have a clean break. I was bluffing about the phone call, but it was obvious he really was hiding something from me. Honestly, I knew what he was hiding. A few little lovers on the side. He probably bought my innocent, naive rich kid act, so he never bothered to hide it that well, just assuming I wouldn't notice. But since he was attentive and eager to please, and I had no interest in a deep relationship with him anyway, I'd always just turned a blind eye. As I walked out, Dino chased after me. Leo, give me a chance. I can explain everything. I pressed my hand to his lips. Darling, please don't leave me with the ugliest possible impression of you at the very end. Okay? He looked helpless but actually shut his mouth. Pleased that he'd listened, I wiped my hand on his shirt. I smiled brightly. Just kidding. I'm not going to remember you at all. My memory snapped back to the present. Dino was getting more and more emotional. Grabbing my hand, his eyes red, he kept repeating over and over that he never thought I would care so much about this kind of thing. My heart is only with you, Leo. My heart will only ever be with you, Leo. The talkative man in front of me had just said almost the exact same thing as my brother. A man who cherished his words like gold. But my brother had a girlfriend when he said it, and Dino was saying it because he'd been unfaithful. Everyone wants to give me their heart. But I'm not some organ trafficker, and I'm not some pathetic creature who needs someone else's heart to survive. I just want a little bit of affection that's for me and me alone. And it just so happens that love is the easiest way to get that. So I tried to turn my brother's feelings for me into love. I tried to have a real relationship with someone. But maybe you can't always get what you want. Dino, when did you get so long-winded? The rambling man froze, looking at me with pleading, wounded eyes. He seemed shocked that I would be so blunt. Leo, I love you. Go ask our friends. They all know I'm just playing around out there. I only care about you. It seems my cruelty wasn't sharp enough, leaving this loser thinking I needed that kind of reassurance. I pulled a wad of foreign currency from my pocket and threw it right in his face. Take the money, shut your mouth, and get lost. Don't ruin my appetite. The man was completely stunned, probably having never experienced such a classic, trashy romance novel humiliation. Seeing him still sitting there, I gave a scornful laugh and looked down on him. What, still here? Is the money not enough? People in the coffee shop were starting to stare at us. Dino, his face pale, shakily stood up. Leo, you're not in a good mood today. We can talk later, fine. As long as you enjoy making a scene like this, I'm happy to oblige. I shrugged, feigning indifference. After Dino left, a cafe employee came to ask if I needed any help. I quickly apologized, paid a little extra for the trouble, and helped clean up the table before leaving. Even though I was the one who threw the money and humiliated him, wasn't I also a joke? I was walking aimlessly down the street when my brother called. The housekeeper said you were awake and had gone out. Why didn't you call me back? Hearing his voice, I was suddenly overwhelmed with a deep sadness. I sat down on a bench by the road and answered softly, because I didn't want to. What? I don't want to answer your calls. I don't want to see you. I don't even want to hear your voice. Why? Leo, did something happen? For once, Evan's voice was gentle, which only made my heart ache more. Because I don't want to like you anymore. I don't want to like anyone anymore. Evan, I regret it. I regret falling for him. I regret being so desperate for someone to love me. I regret the things I did, and I regret the things I said. I'm not a bad person, but I'm not a good person either. I'm just a little kid who can't get anything right and who nobody wants. Leo, just stay right where you are. Don't move. I'm coming to get you right now. Okay? After hanging up, I had the bizarrely calm thought that dating really does change a person. Evan even knew how to speak softly now. When Evan found me, I was sitting at a street food stall eating skewers. I silently braced myself for the tongue lashing I was sure was coming, waiting for him to demand, "Didn't I tell you to stay put?" But he just sat down, reached out, and touched my hand to feel its temperature. It's windy out. Are you cold? Cold. Then when you finish that skewer, let's go home. Okay? Mom and Dad miss you. Okay. This is what it means to be brothers. No matter how much love or hate there is, you have to sit obediently in front of your parents and call each other brother. His car dropped us off at the entrance to my parents' neighborhood, and we still had a short walk to the house. The night air at the turn of autumn was a bit chilly. My brother draped his jacket over my shoulders and then took my hand and tucked it into the jacket pocket. Was he this good to his old boyfriends and girlfriends? I didn't want to ask. I just silently soaked up the warmth from his pocket. For these few minutes, at least, I could let him be just my brother. My brother, all to myself. When we reached the front door, I tried to pull my hand away, but my brother held on tight. Couldn't get free. He opened the door with his other hand and led me inside just like that. Mom and Dad were happy to see us. They saw him holding my hand but didn't react, just smiled and asked, "What brings you two here so suddenly?" I looked at Evan. Didn't he say Mom and Dad missed me and wanted me to come? Evan squeezed my hand and spoke. "Dad, Mom, there's something I need to tell you." I stood on the second-floor balcony, listening as the chaos downstairs slowly subsided into silence. The thought in my mind became more certain. Evan, he's a madman. A madman who wouldn't flinch even if a mountain collapsed in front of him. From the car ride until the moment he led me by the hand to stand before our parents, I never would have imagined that he came here today to tell them he wanted to marry me. Dad slapped him and called him morally corrupt. But he just gave me a little push. "You go upstairs first. Wait for me." In this familiar house, every brick and every piece of wood sparked a memory. I was staring out the window, lost in thought, until someone draped a jacket over my shoulders. "You're standing in the wind again. What if you catch a cold?" I didn't turn around, just kept my eyes on the moon. "Evan, why are you doing this? Why, just when I was so heartbroken I was about to give up on everything, would you do this? Evan didn't answer. After a long moment, he rested his head on my shoulder. It's my fault. I was indecisive, I was a coward. I'm sorry. I guess there are some benefits to living a long life. Who would have thought that I, in this lifetime, would ever hear an apology from Evan? If my shoulder hadn't started to feel damp, if he hadn't been clutching the hem of my shirt, I wouldn't have turned around. But I did. I turned back to him and asked, "So, can you be mine alone now?" Evan leaned in and gently kissed me. "I've always been only yours. Leo, I have never lied to you." In that instant, a sad thought crossed my mind. I'm done for. Turned out I had never gotten over him. I was just waiting, just gambling. Gambling that 10 years together could make the impossible happen. Turned out I wasn't carefree or able to let things go. I was just someone who had bet everything on hearing those words. Leo, marry me. Evan's POV. From the first day I brought Leo home, I felt uneasy. He was so small and thin, it felt like a gust of wind could blow him over. Such a fragile child. Even when he tried to act tough with his clenched fists and fierce face, you couldn't help but feel for him. In the time after he came to live with us, I would often hear people call him a jinx or say he had a bad temper. But they had never lived with Leo. How could they make such a judgment? My Leo was the cutest, most well-behaved kid in the world. My parents traveled a lot for work, and he was the one who was always by my side. When I was sick, it was little him running back and forth to take care of me. He might have caused a little harmless trouble now and then, like accidentally spilling medicine on me or forgetting his curfew, but none of that mattered. His presence made me feel like I wasn't living this life alone. But raising a younger brother did sometimes come with its headaches. The world outside was a messy place, and I constantly had to worry about him getting bullied. I raised him like this on pins and needles until he turned 18. But then a new problem arose. Too many people wanted to take my brother away from me. He was growing more and more beautiful, and his personality was vibrant and captivating. But I didn't see that as a reason for others to covet him. He deserved better, the best. Only someone who could take even better care of him than I could would be worthy of him. Unfortunately, that person probably hadn't been born yet. The moment he admitted to me that he liked men, I admit I had thoughts I shouldn't have had. But he said he liked another man. Why? We had been inseparable, we supported each other, we were always together. Why, in the end, did he fall for a friend who had only been in his life for 2 years? An unspeakable jealousy and panic washed over me. I had to stop him from going down this path, even if it meant using ruthless methods. For the first time in my life, I punished him severely. But it was for his own good. His final exams were coming up. He couldn't be distracted by something like this. And I selfishly thought if he was going to like men, he could only like me, because I knew that no one would ever care about him more than I did. No one could take better care of him than I could, and no one would ever love him more than I did. Later, to end his confinement and protect his friend, he actually said he liked me and even kissed me. The moment he kissed me, I confess, my resolve softened. I discovered that there was something in the world even more blissful than hugging him or touching him. But then I thought, who taught him this? Who taught him how to kiss? How to say sweet nothings? Who led him to discover his own sexuality? It wasn't me. That thought, a fire ignited within me. I was so angry, I slapped him. After I locked him in his room, I stood outside the door and slapped myself. Twice. After he confessed to me, even though I knew it wasn't sincere, I couldn't stop my mind from wandering. I couldn't stop myself from wanting to be near him. I couldn't stop my eyes from drifting to his lips. But I couldn't. I couldn't disrupt his focus at such a critical time. I couldn't completely manipulate his heart. So I found a fake girlfriend to deceive myself, and to deceive him. I waited patiently for him to finish his exams. I thought I could keep him close for college, and then I would take things slowly with him. But he changed his application. He went with that boy to a place so far away from me. I don't know what happened to me. I became restless, anxious, and started changing partners frequently. I told myself over and over that he didn't like me, that I had to forget this shameful love and just treat him as a brother. But then, just before he left, he kissed me again. My already fragile defenses crumbled completely, so I couldn't stop myself. I arranged for people to watch him, to keep track of his every move. But can someone please tell me, Why did he just run even farther away? The day I found out he had left the country, beneath my calm exterior, I fell apart completely. I stormed to my mother, who had signed the papers, and demanded to know why she let him go. A mother always knows her child. That day she asked me, "Evan, do you still see Leo as your brother?" I avoided her question and asked one of my own. Can't a brother also be a lover? My mother was always forgiving. In the end, all she did was remind me, "Evan, you have to be responsible for your words. Of course, to make the world accept us. I have already walked this long road through all these silent years. No matter what, whether he truly has a little bit of affection for me or not, I will not let go again."